Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to be here. We are focusing on how retailers, bike shops specifically, can save time and cut costs and sell more. And really the success of any retail shop is really going to be pinned to the technology platform that they're using. So a lot of the retailers here today are maybe still manual or using an outdated software. And really the days of a point of sale or a till just processing sales and tracking inventory, those days are really over. And your POS needs to do a lot more than just process sales. It really needs to help you run your entire business more efficiently. And that's really what we're going to get into today. So some quick housekeeping before we start. This session is being recorded. So everyone who has registered will get the recorded link shortly after the live session. And we encourage questions. So drop any questions you have in the question pane. You can type them in, and we will save time at the end to go over each and every question and just help out with whatever is needed. So with that, let's jump in. We'll do some quick introductions. My name is Michelle Salerno. I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at Celerant Technology. I'm located in the United States, actually in New Jersey, and I've been with Celerant now for about 20 years.
Brilliant. Hi everyone, my name is Lewis Christian. I'm Head of Business Development here at Saledock. I'm based up in Manchester. I've been with the team now for just shy of 2 years. So hopefully today's session we can explore the system, and rather than just showing you why you should be using it all in one, we'll look at the pros and cons of both approaches so you can decide what makes sense for you.
Nice one. And yeah, I'm Jake Fields and co-founder of Bikebook. So Bikebook's been running since 2022. We're based down in Brighton, and we're essentially a workshop management / marketing platform to help you grow and streamline your business on the service side.
Excellent. So we have a lot of different retailers on today's session. And for those of you who don't know who our companies are, we'll just do a quick introduction of who we are. So Lewis, kick us off with Saledock.
Yeah, happy to. So Saledock actually started when a friend of our founders, you can see Lee and Layla there, asked them to build a piece of middleware between their ePOS and ecom platform, because your typical, your stock wasn't matching, orders were getting missed, and keeping everything up to date was just eating into the time. So instead of just patching it all together, we went one step ahead and built Saledock from the ground up as a completely unified retail platform, which was connecting everything from the physical shop to their website, the customers, the stock, all under one roof. So it worked. Word started to spread. More and more retailers started to come on board, all facing very similar challenges. If we fast forward to today, Saledock supporting hundreds of independent UK retailers, from small independents to large multi-store chains across a really wide range of sectors. Along the way, as you can see there, we've picked up plenty of different awards, but the real recognition for us, especially for the cycle trade, was when the ACT asked us to partner up. So they did a whole load of due diligence on a lot of different platforms in the industry, because members were raising a lot of the same frustrations around trying to keep things in sync and just having to manage a lot of different places. So we're really proud now to be their recommended solution to support independent cycle retailers, which is of course why we're here today, to hopefully give you a little bit of insight into how an all-in-one platform can actually help with the typical challenges bike shops are seeing on a day-to-day.
Great. And for those of you who are not familiar with Celerant, we are a all-in-one retail software provider. We're based in the US. We've been at it for about almost 26 years. And really where we pride ourselves is not just providing point of sale and e-commerce, but it's really offering a full omni-channel retail solution, helping merchants provide a more unified shopping experience across all sales channels. And of course, equally as important, helping the retailers just streamline their business and operate much more efficiently because it's all in a centralized database. So here in the US, we are a preferred software provider for the NBDA, the National Bike Dealers Association. And we have now recently merged with Saledock this past year. And so we're really, really excited both at Saledock and at Celerant to merge our two companies and really start blending our technology. We bring 25 years of advanced retail features specifically for bike shops and just decades of experience combined with the Saledock's newer technology and cloud-based platform, and really just blend it all together. So there's a lot of exciting things coming in the near future. And so I'm excited to be here today with Lewis. And of course, Jake, if you could, I know you already sort of introduced Bikebook, but give us a little more.
Yeah, for sure. So Bikebook and Workshop is the workshop management solution that integrates with Saledock. So when Saledock is used in a bike shop or a bike retailer, we integrate directly into there so that obviously they have workshop management operations. And yeah, we launched it in 2022. And when we initially launched it, it was essentially just a directory page that was helping connect bike shops with cyclists and different customers that are perhaps outside their current customer pools. And since when we're working with those guys, we realized that, you know, there wasn't really an end-to-end streamlined solution for workshop management really available in the market. So we were able to build our solution Workshop, which basically covers everything from, you know, allowing you to take bookings online in a way that suits your business, through managing that booking from the point it's booked in all the way through until it's been paid and completed. All of the job reporting that is aligned with ACT and SciTech to make sure that it follows a process that is familiar and standardized across the industry. Also, all of the invoicing, supplier integration, so we're also integrated with all the suppliers across the UK, and also all of the customer CRM and automation that, you know, helps you spend less time doing admin and more time repairing bikes, which obviously will help you increase your revenues. And like both Celerant and Saledock, we are partners of both the ACT and the NBDA in the US.
Awesome. All right, so let's jump in. We have a lot of different things to cover here today. So I always like to kick it off with a poll question just to get a feel for who is on the live session. Of course, we have our agenda and what we want to discuss, but we can change that and will change that based on who's here in attendance and what it looks like at your business. So let me pull up this first question. Give me 1 second. Okay, how many retail systems do you use? So I just went ahead and launched it. Lewis, you can see that?
I can see that, okay.
Great. All right, so how many retail POS systems do you use? Are you using just one? Is it just your ePOS in your store and, or I should say ePOS or just e-commerce and actually no brick and mortar? Do you have two systems, which typically would be your ePOS and e-commerce? Do you have three systems? ePOS, e-commerce, your workshop software, 4 systems, ePOS, e-commerce, workshop, maybe an ERP, inventory, all disparate systems to operate your business. And last but not least, you are an absolute rock star and you have a unified system connecting all your channels. So go ahead and select what makes the most sense for your business. Looks like we're at 50%. So if you're on the live session, go ahead, and I'd love to get it up to 75%. Go ahead and select your choice here. Well, this is interesting. It is, I'm going to close it and share the results. Lewis, go ahead, walk us through what we got.
Right, so it's about 30% split across the board, really, isn't it? So 33% are using just one solution. So whether that be a point of sale, an e-com platform, or workshop management. 33% are using two. So that could be a combination of point of sale and workshop, or point of sale and e-commerce. So again, they're all going to be completely separate. And then this is quite high for us, actually. We've got 33% who are already using the unified system, which is always good to hear. So yeah, let's see how that goes.
Awesome. Good, good. Well, and I will say for those of you only using one system, I'm going to take a guess that it's probably just the ePOS in your store. And I would really, really encourage you to go ahead and open an e-commerce site and move your business into the online world. And of course, that would require bringing on a second system, or if you're using a unified system, it's as easy as just adding it on. All right, so let's jump in here. First, let's talk about what are some of the areas where bike shops are really struggling. So Lewis, you kick us off, and Jake.
Yeah, perfect. So, I mean, we're speaking with bike shops every single day, and the challenges you see here are really a true reflection of how retail and customer expectations are massively evolving at this moment in time. So, the major one you see is disconnected systems or the inconsistency between them. So that could be anything from, like it says here, your prices, your product details, could be your stock counts, and they're just not matching across the board. So you might have experienced this yourself as a retailer. You know, your website, if you have one, says you've got 3 of a product in stock. The customer comes in, you know, they ask you if you've got it available and you're actually out of stock. It might seem like a really small inconvenience, but what it's doing is it's instantly putting the customer in a really difficult position, damaging the trust. And in some ways, it might be ruining the reputation of the actual business itself, which is the last thing we want, of course. And with the way buying behavior has shifted massively over the recent years, click and collect is of course on the rise. So customers nowadays are expecting to be able to order online and collect in store on the same day, you know, without even thinking twice about it. And when it's not available or when it's not working as it should be, there's 2 things that can happen. The first is they'll find somewhere else that offers it, and that could be a local competitor, which we don't want, or even worse, they'll just go straight to Amazon, knowing that they'll be able to get the product next day on Prime, which is a huge hit for independent retail, and it's taking the customers away from where they should really be spending. And then the other major one we see is things like loyalty rewards, gift cards, promotions. They're typically disconnected across the different channels that you might be selling through. We all love earning points to spend. It's a brilliant way to encourage repeat business, as are gift cards and promotions. The problem is customers aren't always buying from the same channel that you sell through. So if they've earned points in store and then, sorry, they've earned points online or vice versa, and then they come into your store, if they actually can't use them there and the cashier says, sorry, you can't use these here, they're only applicable online, it's a big slap in the face for a consumer who actually wants to keep trying to purchase from you. What about you, Jake? What are the biggest ones that you're seeing on sort of the workshop side of things?
Yeah, I think definitely what we see is, you know, the main thing is around, as we've got here, wasted time. So if you haven't got a system in place that's doing everything from, you know, your bookings through to your communication through to your invoicing, you can spend a lot of time manually doing that. So, you know, being on the phone to the customer, either booking them in or talking them through a quote, or you know, manually writing out a job card and a job report with all the different items that you've checked, which obviously when you're doing admin like that is not time when you're earning revenue, because you're earning revenue when you're obviously fixing bikes and getting those bikes through the workshop. And also some of the challenges, also the communication with the customers, because, you know, they can contact you in many different ways via email, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and having to manage all of those different channels can be quite time consuming, particularly if you are communicating updates to them manually. So obviously, like, streamlining that out is obviously a massive way to buy yourself some more time in the workshop. But also, if you haven't got a system in place that really, you know, helps support you in that process, it can lead to a poor customer experience. You know, on one hand, you have worse data tracking, so when they do come back, you can't necessarily talk them through what you've done last time and have a better understanding of what they've done previously, so, you know, you build a better relationship with them. But also just, you know, having processes to enable them to track where their service is up to, because obviously the bike's going to be with you for a number of days, means that they don't have to keep contacting you and asking for updates. They can just log in and track that online without having to obviously bug you and make sure that, you know, you can just stay on the tools.
Yeah, and I'd
What's the
say,
most you've seen? Oh, sorry, Michelle, you go.
no, I was just going to say that, especially with these sort of economic times that we have the past couple of years, most retailers that we talk to are short-staffed and they don't have as many people as they once had or they'd like to have. And the best way to be more efficient and to do more with less is with your technology. And so everything you guys are talking through is everything, that we hear all day, every day too, right? It's wasting time. It's just spending too much time in too many systems, doing all of this stuff manual, whether it's emailing and marketing or, repairs or just everything you guys mentioned. It's just a lot of time, wasted time. And when you start to look at technology options and get a better understanding of what's even available, and then you start to embrace it, that's when you really start to realize that it's not just saving you time, it's actually helping you sell more. So when you start to look at all these different options and all these different sales channels, you have to really kind of look at your business and ask yourself, what am I doing today? What have I been wanting to do for a long time and just haven't done it, and why? And where do you see your business in 5 years, right? So let's take a quick poll just so we get a better understanding of everybody who's on today again. How many sales channels are you selling through today? Do you just have one? And likely in that case, it's a physical store, or maybe it's just a workshop, or maybe it's just e-com and you don't have a physical presence at all, but it's just one channel. Do you have 2 channels, which is typically your store and your e-commerce, 3 channels, or then of course 4? So let me pull up this poll question and we'll see what we have here today. So you should see that. All right, go ahead and select what applies to your business. 1 sales channel, 2, 3, or 4.
We had a lot with 4 the other day, didn't we? So it'd be
We
interesting to
did.
see if the cycle trade are really pushing into marketplaces.
Yeah, which was actually quite
It's
surprising because and refreshing to see, because these days it's really, really important to be wherever your customers are, and they are everywhere. And their expectations are that you're going to meet them wherever they are. So that means in the store, on the website, maybe even a mobile app, on the online marketplaces. We did a webinar the other day where we saw a lot of merchants are actually embracing the marketplaces and selling on them, embracing Amazon. All right, we're at 83%. I am going to close it. All right, and I'm going to share this. Walk us through, Lewis, what you see here. Much different from the other webinar we did last week.
much different, yeah. So it looks like a lot of people, 60%, are only selling through one channel. So again, like you said, Michelle, that is probably just going to be your typical storefront.
Yep.
So with that, there's huge opportunity that's being missed from having an e-commerce platform in place. I mean, we're reading into that, but that's what I imagine it's going to be. With having an e-commerce, I understand in the cycle trade at this moment in time, it's really hard to compete against the giant store, the chain stores. What we're always saying at this moment in time is you might not turn yourself into a really high turnover e-commerce store, but what retailers are wanting to be able to, what consumers are wanting to be able to do and customers are wanting to be able to do is look on your website and see what you actually have in stock and see the services that you offer. Without that, you're relying on them coming in store. And if they don't have some visibility of why they should be coming in store, the likelihood of them just walking by for the sake of it is pretty unlikely. So we need to make sure we've got those channels in place.
And there's nothing more frustrating to your customer than going on your website and seeing that something is available in your store and then going to your store and it's out of stock. Or
Definitely.
placing an order on your website because your website thinks you have the product in stock, and then you go to fulfill the order and you don't have it and you can't fulfill it, and then you have to cancel the order. So these are all the types of challenges that probably you're facing if you're using a disconnected system and not having that centralized database.
there could be quite a few just independent workshops in there as well, to be honest, couldn't there, Jake? You know, they're not really pushing into having an e-commerce site and pushing the services. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, it's definitely something they should explore and grow. I think sometimes you can get to a point where, obviously a business is doing really well, doing a lot of repairs, and then it's like the next big jump to start doing some retail and sales online. And it's finding that point, but I think it can be quite a scary thought to have to like invest in a website and start doing sales, because obviously if it doesn't work, then you're stuck with it. But I would say, definitely explore it, because it will work, and you'll start to see significant boost in your revenue.
So when you are researching systems and looking at all the different options, because there are so many options, there's a phrase that's commonly used. It's called best of breed versus all-in-one. So we want to take a minute just to explain the difference between the two. There's pros and cons to both, and we're going to walk through it. So best of breed, what that means is, like the name says, you're looking for the best of breed, but the systems in those scenarios tend to be separate systems, right? And they also tend to be much more costly. So you may be looking for the absolute best of breed point of sale, the best of breed e-commerce website, maybe a totally independent workshop software, ERP system, and you're going to spend more budget on these best of breed systems. And then they may come with, or say they come with, an out-of-the-box integration, or you may have to actually build a custom integration to connect all these disparate systems. But that is the approach of best of breed. The pros of best of breed, of course, is each application is the best of its class, right? The con, of course, is you are paying top dollar, and there's custom integration costs. And so that also becomes expensive. But in addition, and even frankly, probably more important than the cost, is the integration and the discrepancies, the potential discrepancies in the data. The delay, right? It's not real time. When you're connecting disparate systems, there's going to be a delay. Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours, more than that? Because those are the scenarios where if everything's not synced in real time, you could very easily sell something on your website that you don't even have in stock because you just sold it in the store. All-in-one, on the contrary, is, like it says, an all-in-one system where everything is from one technology provider and one system, and typically a centralized database. So there's no need to integrate any disparate systems because it's one system. And those systems, you tend to have a much faster onboarding time. And the data is not even connected, it's one database. So it's real time. And as soon as a sale is made on any of your sales channels, whether it's in your brick and mortar store, your e-commerce website, your marketplace, because everything is connected in real time, the inventory is synced. And when something goes wrong, because it's inevitable with point of sale software, something is going to go wrong. You need to make sure that who you're calling for support is actually going to help. So what happens, what do you think happens when there's multiple systems and multiple tech support teams and you call to get your issue fixed? What are they doing? They're blaming each other. And, oh, that's not the point of sale. That's not us, that's them. Call your e-commerce provider. And you call the e-commerce provider and then they say, oh, well, that's not us, that's them. And you, as the retailer, just end up being the monkey in the middle and having to waste a lot of time and take a lot of your energy. And it's frustrating to have to be that middleman and play project manager in between all these different companies. So all-in-one really helps with that, because not only is the system all-in-one, but the technology partner is one. So when something goes wrong, you have one company to call. Of course, bringing Bikebook into this mix, it's a seamless integration. So while in theory, Saledock, Bikebook is two separate companies, it is a seamless integration where the e-commerce and the point of sale is all one with Saledock, and then your workshop, your repairs, all of that is seamlessly integrated. So you're still operating from a single system. So which one is right for your business? There's no right or wrong answer. There's no, it depends. It depends on what you're looking for, and it depends on your business plan and your priorities. So all in one, like we said, it's cross-channel data. It just comes standard versus having to piece it all together. And your budget and your timeline are going to play a really big factor. If you are a smaller merchant and you're needing to go live pretty quickly, your best bet is going to be all in one, because you can go live a lot faster and at a much more cost-effective price. So 89% of retailers struggle with system integration. And so that really speaks to the best of breed approach, where you're piecing together all these disparate systems. That's a really high percentage. And what does the struggle of the integration result with? Delays, bottlenecks, and added cost. And retailers who are using an integrated system, 2.5 times those projects are finishing on time and within budget. So a lot of times you have to be careful when you're looking at any software provider. Make sure their pricing is transparent. Make sure it's listed on the website and they give you a clear picture of what these costs and timelines are going to be, because there is scope creep. And especially when you're building out integrations and anything custom, that's where the scope can come in. And what you're expecting it to be could change very quickly when there's all that added complexity.
We've seen it time and time again recently, haven't we, Jake, where they're being told 2 months to get up and running, and in reality, it's ending up over a year in some cases.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's killing the business because they can't operate as they should be doing. There's no way for them to actually make money because they haven't got a point of sale system in place. The website that they were promised 10 months ago is non-existent. So it's a real tricky one, that.
For sure, yeah.
And the one other thing I'll add too is, I don't know what the stat is currently, but a couple years back, it was once every 5 to 7 years. That's how often a retailer might look to change their retail software. So it's a really important decision, and you need to really do your due diligence. And so, make sure that the software that you're considering, not just the software and the features and the functionality, but the team, the company, are they going to support your business and be a good partner? And I really recommend, don't just look at your business today, look at where you want your business to be in 2 or 3 or 4 years. Make sure the software provider that you're choosing to work with can support your business, not just today, but with where you want to be years down the road.
Definitely. I think, like it says here, that the biggest gains that we've seen from retailers who are using disparate, disconnected systems, it wasn't just fixing the problems that we'd already been through. It was more about freeing up the time, which we've mentioned quite a bit there, Michelle. Just getting hours and hours back every single week is huge. Giving their customers a much more consistent experience across the board, and just having one holistic view of the entire business is probably the 3 major ones. But when you really break it down into why that's happening, it's things here like you only have to update something once in the system, and it's updating across the board. Typically with best of breed, that might be an update in 3 separate systems, which is, of course, triple the amount of time. So things like changing a price or uploading a new product, with an all-in-one, it's flowing from your physical shop, your workshop, your website, and it's building a lot more consistency across the board, which in turn is creating a much stronger trust from your customers. Another one we see, which we've mentioned in sort of the problem, is the loyalty schemes that shops are running, and gift cards and promotions. They can now start to actually, the customers can now start to actually earn and redeem the points wherever they'd like to. which is making it much easier for them to keep coming back. And when rewards are working everywhere across the board, they're much more likely to get used. And if they're getting used, then customers are spending, which is always good news for us. Another major one is with orders flowing into one system. So you've got the likes of click and collect. You've got all of your workshop jobs that are happening. You know, you might be shipping out to customers. When everything's disconnected, we're doing that again in 3 or 4 different places. When we bring it all into one, we're avoiding delays, we're avoiding missed orders. You know, the headaches of systems not talking to each other are just completely resolved. And when all that's connected, you spend much less time firefighting on a day-to-day basis and much more time focusing on your customers and actually growing your business. But yeah, as it says here, the proof's in action, or proof in the pudding is what I like to say. So we spoke to Ben over at Leeli Cycles. It was over 12 months ago now, wasn't it, Jake? He was running a best of breed ePOS, ecom, and workshop management platform, all really well-known systems, trusted systems that have been in the industry for years. And I imagine a lot of the people on this call will actually be using those particular systems. Won't mention them, of course. On paper, they should have done a brilliant job. In reality, the cracks were really starting to show, and they weren't helping in the slightest. And the biggest issues for Ben were the amount of hours he was constantly wasting just trying to keep everything up to date. He was paying for 3 separate systems, and the cost of each one was consistently rising every single year, and there was no improvement being made. It was just a cost creep for the sake of it. And then it was juggling multiple support teams, like you've already mentioned, Michelle. You know, you're speaking to not one team who can resolve an issue. You're now having to figure out between the 3 different teams where the issue is relying. So actually getting to that underlying cause of what's happening is near enough impossible for most people. So when Ben came on board and we brought him into the Bikebook, the workshop and Saledock sort of way of working and thinking, the results were huge. So like I said, we're in a cost of living crisis, so any reduction in costs is going to be significant for us at this moment in time. So by switching from 3 separate system subscriptions to one, he reduced his software fees by 38%, which is huge if you take that into consideration. And we all know that it's much more expensive to actually attract new customers than keep existing ones. So by improving his customer experience and offer a much more consistency across the board of all the different channels that he's working in, 25% of his customers started to come back more and more. You know, that the increase in customer retention was absolutely massive. And I think when it says in there the time saved, that can be anywhere in the whole process that we've just mentioned. But he said to me it was 8 hours a week he was saving by automatically syncing his workshop, his website, and his in-store. A national living wage of, sorry, Michelle.
That pays for the software.
It pays for the software twice over. Yeah, you know, £12 an hour on national living wage, times that by 32 hours for the month. That's what, close to £400 in hidden costs that he was actually spending on top of the 3 different pieces of software. So the gains are massive, and not just from that side of things, the actual gains from the workshop side of things as well too, right, Jake?
Yeah, exactly. So Ben did have online bookings on his website, but his website was, I think he's working with a local designer, and the process of that website getting through the booking wasn't as streamlined as it should be. So he was churning a lot of potential customers booking in. And Ben's business very much service and repair orientated as well, with sales mixed in. So he's like one of those guys that I was speaking about earlier who has got to a point where, you know, he's grown so much that it makes sense to start doing a lot of retail, but still, like, you know, his workshop is fully booked the whole time. But just by integrating our booking process into a much more streamlined website means that the process from customer landing on that page to being booked in is, you know, significantly reduced in the terms of number of steps. But also Ben gets quite a lot of bookings directly via the Bikebook directory page as well. So there's a lot of people searching in his area, and landing on him and being booked directly through Bikebook. So, it's an additional channel online that he didn't have previously. And then also just the way the systems are talking to each other now, obviously being as streamlined and integrated as they are, means that he's having to do a lot of less back and forth between systems when he's managing that job and that quote. So, he can just do it once and then obviously send out to the customer and take the payment all in, one streamlined process, rather than having to do it in multiple places and reconcile it off later and make sure everything's aligned, which he was having troubles with.
Yeah. And the one thing that we didn't mention that I thought of, Lewis, when you said the 3 different systems, over time, as each system updates their system and launches new versions, things need to be readdressed and integrations need to be enhanced or can break. So even that integration is an ongoing cost and potentially a struggle just to keep everything consistent as each independent system has new versions.
100%. And we see it all the time.
I want to switch gears because we are more than halfway through. So we want to really kind of switch gears and talk now about the evaluation process. And like I said earlier, it's not an easy process. It's an important process, and really you should take the time to make sure that you're being thorough and asking the right questions and ensuring that the software provider that you choose is the right provider, both in the platform and in the customer service, because this really will be a partnership and you're going to want it to be supporting your business for the next several years. This is not something you're going to want to change frequently. So let's first look through the step-by-step process here, and then we'll get to some questions to make sure you ask. So I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Where I see a lot of retailers get stuck is they're looking at their business now, and they're looking for a software provider that can support what their needs are now. But you really need to be looking at where are you at now. Ask why you're stuck or sitting where you are now. Why hasn't your business grown? And where do you want to take it? Because then when you sort of look at it from that perspective, it'll open you up to ask a lot more questions and really get an understanding for if the software provider that you're choosing can not just support you today, but help your business grow. And not just provide the software to help you grow, but also sort of act in a more consultative approach. Your retail software provider you should be able to lean on them and have them help you understand how there might be better ways to run your business. Jake, you mentioned earlier about how a lot of your merchants are not yet opening an e-commerce site, just haven't launched it yet. They're a little nervous. They're not really sure what the process is. Well, when you're with an all-in-one provider, that provider can really help. And launching that e-commerce site becomes less scary because, like Lewis said, everything's managed in one place. You're already running your store. You've already got your point of sale. Being able to just click right within the ePOS and post everything to your website and have everything connected and easily managed in one system makes it a lot less scary. It makes it a lot easier. So really identifying your current needs and ensuring that the provider is aligned. Get demos. If you need to, get multiple demos. Watch videos. Play with the software. I can't encourage that enough because a lot of people could say they do a lot of things. You want to see it and you want to make sure that what they're saying is accurate and exactly how you're doing things is how the system can handle it. And of course, keeping in mind that just because you do something one way today, you may need to make some changes, and that's okay. There's a reason why you're looking to switch your software, because you want to run your business a little bit different. You want to grow, and sometimes you have to also evaluate how your processes are internally and how you might need to change those to be able to support more growth. Of course, pricing is a factor. Everybody knows that. You have to make sure you're not biting off more than you can chew because, again, you want to be with this provider for the long term, and you want to make sure you're not putting yourself into a situation where a year down the road, you may have regrets that you just put yourself in a hole. Support is most important, I think. knowing who you're working with, knowing who you can call. Do they provide only email support? Can you actually pick up the phone and call someone and talk to a human and have them walk you through the process and actually fix the issue in real time? Ask the questions and just make sure that they're aligned with what you're looking for.
I'd say on that one as well, Michelle, you know, you mentioned being able to actually play with the system. There's a lot of solutions out there that we hear of, aren't there, Jake, where, you know, they don't allow the retailer to actually use the system before they take it on, which makes you think, you know, do they have trust in their own platform? Why are they not allowing people to actually test it out for themselves to make sure it's the correct system for them? So you've got to make sure you're transparent in everything you're doing there, and that's what we like to do, don't we, Jake? You know, if they want to get into the system and play around with things, make sure that their particular workflows are going to work with our system, then please go ahead, because we want to make sure that you're happy at the end of the day. That's the main thing. So there's a lot of common pain points when retailers are looking to switch systems, and don't get me wrong, they're completely founded. You know, there's worry about how complex it might be to actually switch over, how much time it'll take to implement, whether staff will actually pick it up and adapt to it. There's always questions then around data migration. Can we migrate our data? How long is it going to take? Are we going to be down? And of course, costs and security are always top of mind. And like I say, they're completely normal concerns. We hear them every single day, and it's good news because we've been through this transition with hundreds of retailers. So we know how to make the process smooth. We know how to do a data migration. You know, the amount of people who ask us, can you actually get the data out of our systems? Like, yeah, we can. So we can move you over seamlessly without any issues, minimizing downtime and just giving you the confidence that a move isn't going to break your business and nothing's going to fall through the cracks. So there's always a couple of questions that you need to be asking when you're evaluating new software. Does it support in-store and online? Because if it doesn't, the same issues we've already raised with stock inconsistencies, duplicating work, is going to keep happening. So we need to make sure if they're happening at this moment in time, it does support in-store and online. Whether it can handle cross-channel rewards. So again, that can be gift cards, it can be promotions, it can be anything. Customers expect it nowadays. So if we're not seeing the same promotions in stores online, we're going to have that same issue of customer expectation is going to drop, and loyalty is going to take a hit from that. Whether inventory can be handled across multiple locations. So this, of course, falls for the people who've got more than one store. They might be going out to events. They might be working from a warehouse. Centralized stock control is an absolute must if you want to avoid overselling or any missed sales opportunities. And this is always it's a boring question, but what happens if my internet goes down? If your internet goes down and the system doesn't accommodate for it, you're not able to trade. So that's just money lost very, very quickly from not having a cloud-based platform. And I think there's a couple more, isn't there, Michelle, we've got on here? Yeah, perfect. So, you know, how secure is the system? Security, it's not always just a tick box. You need to make sure we're protecting customers' data, the business's reputation. So it's just giving you that peace of mind that nothing is going to be leaking to where it shouldn't be. How easy is it to train staff? You know, if your team can't pick it up very quickly and they can't adapt to it quickly, adoption is going to be slow. The shop floor experience for customers is going to be really poor, because while someone's still trying to figure out how to use a system, when they've got a customer in front of them, they might spend an extra 5 minutes at the till that they could be out the shop and done. You know, so it's really limiting the customer expectation there. And support and onboarding, like you said, Michelle, it's the biggest one by far and large. You could be using the most advanced system in the world, the best system in the world. Questions, no doubt, will consistently keep coming up because it's a system that you're using every day. You need to find the quirks and the way that things work. So knowing you've got a responsive, knowledgeable support team behind you means you're never left to try and figure things out alone, and making sure they're going through a really thorough onboarding process with you is absolutely crucial.
And yeah, and training these days, you know, when you're initially onboarding or even ongoing training, ask them, what type of training is it? Is it just online videos? Are you just watching a recorded video and teaching yourself? Most all live sessions are going to be online these days. Is it one-on-one? Is it group sessions with all different merchants on? There's a lot of different ways that providers can offer training. So just get clarity and really understand what type of training, just like you're going to hopefully find out what type of support.
Definitely. And if your worry is your staff adopting to it, you need to make sure that training is one-on-one. You don't want it to be just a generic session that's been pre-recorded that they're sending over to you, because your staff are going to want to be able to ask questions on those sessions 100%.
And make sure every training session that you do with your staff, even one-on-one, record it. Record your one-on-one training sessions and keep a library of them, because you will want to go back and watch it. And if you need to hire new people in your store, you can have a whole training library a video library of all your prior sessions to reference in the future. So a lot of times people forget to do that.
100%.
All
so
right,
let's
look specifically a little bit about the Saledock system. We're also going to talk a bit about Bikebook and really kind of talk through what these platforms look like. I'll say this, I always say this on every session we do. Even if you're not using Saledock, even if you're not using Bikebook, our goal today, you all are ACT members. Our goal really today is to open your eyes a little bit more into what is possible with technology. So even if you're not using our specific platforms that we're going to look at right now, we hope that you're at least learning what options are available and understanding more the questions you should be asking, the things you should be keeping in mind, regardless of which system you're exploring. So I just want to always add that in there. We'll take a quick sneak peek here. If you're interested in learning more, of course, we can do a one-on-one demo after, but let's just take a little introduction here.
Yeah, perfect. So the beauty of an all-in-one system like Saledock or any other ones out there is it's resolving the previous issues that we've mentioned by design. You're not having to do workarounds, you're not managing separate logins or constantly, tirelessly trying to sync disconnected systems and data. You've got your point of sale, your website, your workshop through Bikebook, your business management tools, everything running through the same system, and it's speaking the same language, and it's all in real time. Real time is a crucial one. Like Michelle said, if a system's connected by a third party, it's not going to be real time. You're going to be waiting 10, 15 minutes maybe for something to push through. And in that time period, it's open to errors then. So what it's doing is it's building that consistency and trust. So you've got all these things speaking together, but the way that we've set Saledock up as well is because we're doing so much for the cycle trade, is we've built in a lot of specific functionality to help. Things around cycle schemes, how do we manage them? How do we do our reconciliation for them? It's all built in. Serialized products, of course, bikes and a lot of other parts all have serial numbers that we need to be keeping track of when they're selling. So that's all built in for you. The major piece that we were missing for a really long time for the cycle trade was, of course, the workshop management tool. So rather than us trying to build our own, we went to the market, and what we found what was the best out there at this moment in time being Bikebook. So again, we've done an entire integration into that, where it's not now running as two separate systems. Everything is seamlessly connected across the board, and it's pushing both ways for you. And a major one that Jake's mentioned is the supplier integration. Anyone who doesn't have supplier integration, you're currently going through the issue of having to manually upload products to your point of sale and to your website. That can take hours, it can take days, it can take weeks, depending on how much that you're adding in. So we integrate with the likes of Madison, Chicken Cycle Kit, Zyro Fisher, as well as plenty of other big bike brands. And it's all helping you to reduce the amount of time you spend uploading product data into your system. And it also allows you to connect directly to their stock feeds. So you can actually still take orders, even though you've not got those products in stock, knowing that it can be fulfilled by the next day through the supplier. So when everything's connected under one roof, you're not really just fixing problems, you are creating a really good foundation to take the business onto the next step. And it's not just a patchwork of tools. If we're looking at the other things that retailers are using on a day-to-day basis, things like shipping carriers, you've got accounting tools, you've got marketplaces, we natively build all of that into the system to make your lives so much easier on a daily basis. So the likes of Zero, Amazon, eBay, Ship Theory, Bikebook, of course, the major one here, everything's seamlessly running through one place for you.
And that's one thing we didn't have on the list of questions, and frankly, it should have been, right? We take it for granted because it's what we live and breathe every day. Does the ePOS, does the retail software provider support the bike industry specifically? Because if they don't, you're not going to get any of the stuff that Lewis just talked about, or any of the stuff that Jake is about to walk us through as well. All these catalog integrations, being able to sync the online product feed with your vendors, drop ship, all those different things that you can do when you can connect to your suppliers. You're not going to get any of that with a software platform that doesn't specifically support the industry. So it's another really important question to ask. And then ask beyond that, which vendors do you integrate with? Who are your suppliers that you're partnered with? Ask the questions. Make sure it's the vendors that you're working with.
Yeah, and then following on from that as well, like when we first started to build Bikebook and the workshop tool in particular, we obviously done a lot of analysis around what was out there at the moment. And what we found that every piece of software that people were using to manage their workshop felt like the person who had built that piece of software had never been in a workshop before. So none of the processes really followed like what you're actually doing day to day. So that therefore it's never as streamlined as you want it to be, because you're essentially shoehorning in a piece of software into some operations that you're doing slightly differently. So we basically sat down with loads and loads of different businesses across different business models to really understand in depth what that workflow looks like, so that we could build something that does actually reflect what you're doing and is actually helping along that way. And part of that is obviously just a way, the main bit, obviously managing your bookings from the point that bike is booked in throughout the whole journey it's in the store until it's gone, and having a really clear and easy way of tracking that means that you don't have to ask around the store what's the latest of this bike, or you don't have bikes sitting in the back of the storeroom that have been there for months that you can't remember why or who it belongs to. Another bit, obviously, paper tickets and paper reporting and paper diaries are very common in bike shops in the UK. And you can purchase the paper job cards from the ACT. And we've basically worked with the ACT to digitalize that. So you now have digital records. You don't have a monthly outgoing for paper. Obviously, it's a lot greener to have that, and it is customizable to match what you want. So it follows the process and obviously that you're doing at the moment, just in a digital way, which means it's a lot easier to store and manage that service history online in the cloud, rather than having to have stacks of paper tickets somewhere in the store. And then also having an effective way to manage your inventory. Obviously, when you're using Saledock as your point of sale, or any others, that inventory is synced into our system anyway. And as we said, there's a direct sync between both of our systems, so that is reflective regardless of where you are, so you don't have to flick between both systems. But also having the catalogs directly integrated into the workshop tool drastically helps and streamlines your process when you're managing jobs, because you might not necessarily have it in stock, and you might not want to necessarily connect to the whole of the Madison catalog, because then you're filtering through socks and jerseys and helmets and glasses and everything that's not going to be on a repair job. So we basically pull all of the major ones in to our system specifically for the workshop stuff that they have in stock. So you can then search on the catalogs as well as your inventory, and then also add those and mark those for back order in our system, so that you can see when things need to be ordered, particularly if you're coming back to a job a few days later and you can't remember when that part arrives, what job that is specifically for. That's all automated. Also, it's quite common that businesses have a variety of different business models. So obviously you need your USB to make sure that you can kind of differentiate yourself from other bike shops. And a good way to do that, and a common way to do that, is offering some kind of collection and return service or an on-site service for smaller jobs. So you might have a van, or you might offer a few days a week for a few customers an option, if they're in the vicinity, to go collect and return that bike for the service, obviously for a fee. And that process is configurable in our system, so that you can basically match the way the system is managing those jobs to reflect your business model. Then also, invoicing and payments is integrated again, obviously, to the point of sale. So when you're taking payment at the till as if you had just bought or someone's just bought a product. But also, for some jobs, they can be quite expensive, and you're expected to pay and order the parts in so that you can obviously fit them. And you might want to take a deposit on that, or you might want the customer to pay up front before, just to mitigate some of that risk if it is really expensive. So also being able to send for payments in advance before that job is completed is all possible directly in our system with a variety of different payment gateways. Then lastly, coming back to what we've spoken about previously, is also around the communication. So rather than having loads of different places where customers are communicating with you and sending you messages and having to remember who I speak to this customer on and what platform did they call me on, all of the communication goes directly into the workshop tool in the job card. So next time you come and open that job, you can see all the chat history. If you need to communicate with them, you literally just open up the job card rather than having to scramble through Facebook to find where they DM'd you a few weeks ago.
And Jake, when we were at Birdie Bikes and you showed me the system, my favorite part, one of my favorite parts of the whole system was that part right there. And also being able to text message and send all those automated messages. I mean, my background, of course, is marketing, hence why I perk up when we start talking about communication and all of that. But it is just a really, really, it's a sleek system and really makes it easy to communicate and market to your customers.
Exactly, and it just makes the customer obviously feel very included, and that is coming onto this slide nicely what we kind of focus on, because we want to focus on that customer experience, because at the end of the day we want them coming back as frequently as possible, and when they have come through and had a service to have had the best experience ever and the most professional experience ever, so they do come back to you and don't end up going to some super large retailer that we won't name that's very common and use you instead. So we basically designed the whole process to be very much a customer facing process. So all of the reporting that they get through, we try and model based on what you receive if you get your car repaired, which is often a big checklist of items that they've checked. It gives you a full safety check of what your bike's had, images and videos to document what they found, so you get a really good picture and understanding of how your bike is, rather than it just being they dropped it off on Monday and then they pick it up on Wednesday and they know it's got a new cassette and that's about it. And it also means that they can then use that service report, which is you can see in that image on the screen, as their verified service history for that bike. So now when they're coming back to you, they've got records of everything that's been done with different dates, which if they do come to sell the bike, is quite handy to show that everything has been done for and that bike's been cared for as it should be, rather than just not been outside in a shed for months on end. So the whole process of this means that a lot of it is automated. So when you're naturally moving the job through the process, the customer is informed what's going on without you having to call them. But also just that engagement that they have, as you say, and the communication means that they're just super happy about everything that's going on when their bike's with you, and love to talk about it too.
Awesome. All right. Well, we are just about at time. We wrapped up right on schedule here. So we're about to go ahead and answer some questions. So we had a couple of questions come through already. So go ahead and drop any questions you might have in the question pane on the right side in the GoToWebinar panel. Before we wrap up and get to those questions though, hopefully this was helpful and educational to everyone. Like I always say, if you walk away with one or two little nuggets to bring back to your business, it is well worth the hour that we spent here today. Saledock is the preferred point of sale and e-commerce, as is Bikebook for the workshop, for the preferred provider for the ACT. So we want to make it really easy for the ACT members to get started. And so we're offering an exclusive promotion up to 20% off. And that is off of your recurring SaaS software. So that's a really great promotion to help you get started and bring those costs down. And we're offering that specifically to the ACT members as part of our partnership. So if you want to learn more, if you really want to get a demo, a one-on-one demo, just reach out. Lewis's contact info is there. We're happy to schedule a one-on-one demo and answer any questions you may have. So we did have a couple of questions come through. We're actually at time, but if you can bear with us for a couple of more minutes, we can get through just a couple of these questions. So the first question, well, this is always the first question. How much do these systems cost? So Lewis, why don't you start on the Saledock side?
Yeah, sure. So it just depends on what you're looking for, of course. If you're going ePOS, e-commerce, if you're going for unified, the plans vary, but we go through a whole process of making sure that you know exactly what you're paying for. It's very transparent. All the costings are on the website. Point of sale starts at $79 a month. Your unified, where you start to include your e-commerce, starts at $199 a month. That can go up and down, varying on things like how you want the website build, whether you want more bespoke functionality and features in there, for example. But again, we can tailor any package to your particular needs.
And Jake, on your side?
For our side, so Bikebook is a flat fee, and for a standard workshop, we charge 50 plus VAT, and that includes everything from SMS, all the communication, or unlimited amount of jobs and unlimited amount of bookings. However, if it's a larger shop with a lot of mechanics, we do offer like scalable enterprise plans where we can kind of help configure it to suit your setup, which kind of grows like not really much more than what we have there. So anything up to £150 a month for a really big store per location.
Okay. And a follow-up to that, Lewis, is there a cost to integrate Saledock with Bikebook?
No, all the work has already been done and it's already all been paid for by us. So no, there's nothing there. It's just the software fees to both Saledock and Bikebook. If it makes it easier for you commercially, we do allow you to bundle the subscription into one payment, so you're not having to pay for two separate solutions. So it just should give you, again, that little bit of trust, knowing that the partnership between Saledock and Bikebook isn't going to be going anywhere. You know, we've done a lot of work to make it as it is today.
Okay, another question, and this is, well, for Lewis, but possibly both. I've been using my software for many years. Are you able to take all of my data, sales data, product data, customer data, and put it into your system?
Yeah, I think we can both answer that, can't we, Jake? Because we do this together usually if somebody is moving to both of us. The answer is yes. We just need to get your data out of your existing system, which is usually a really quick download. We then do all of the reformatting of your products, your customers, and we seamlessly add it into Saledock for you. Once it's in Saledock, it then pushes into Bikebook because of that expert level of integration. We're not having to do two completely separate migrations.
Exactly, and then also on the setup side, like Bikebook does all the setup work for the workshop. So, you know, making sure all of your service menu is in there, all of your, you know, mechanics and users are in there, and all of the process matches what you have for your specific shop. So rather than, you know, just saying, here you go, and you've got to go spend a few days configuring it, when we give you the keys, it's all good to go, and you just start booking in jobs to save you that time.
And follow-up question to that. So of course you want to bring all your customer data in. Lewis, what do you recommend for sales data? How many years of history should they be bringing in to the new system?
So they should be looking to export as much as they possibly can, just so they've got that track history, like you say, of actual sales data and have that record keeping as much as they possibly can, to be honest with you, is what I'd say.
Got it. All right, last question, and we are over time, so thank you for sticking with us here. And this one is from Mike. I'm not very technical. How do Saledock and Bikebook connect?
You want to take that, Jake?
Yeah, for sure. So basically across everything, the systems communicating with each other. Obviously, the two main parts is your inventory and your customers, and making sure that you just have one database for both across both systems, so you're not having to flick back and forth between. So the systems work by basically Saledock is the master solution for the inventory and the customers, and then it syncs back into Bikebook every 5 minutes, so it's always refreshed, so you can always see your stock levels when you're, you know, doing quotes or anything directly in that system. And then on the other hand, it's also across payments. So obviously when a customer's coming in and you want to complete a payment for a service, the system will basically send it and generate it as a sale at the till, regardless of where you are. So if you're sending it from the workshop, you can send it to the till. You can complete the payment as normal. Once that payment is completed, you know, Bikebook is automatically marked as completed and paid anyway, so you don't have to go back and do any double reconciliations across anything.
And the integration is behind the scenes. So we've done the work so that you as a merchant don't have to do anything to connect the systems. We handle it all for you behind the scenes. We did have one other quick question come in that I want to get to. Simon just sent in a question. What payment processors do Bikebook integrate with for card payments?
So Bikebook integrates with iZettle/PayPal, SumUp, Stripe, and Square.
Got it. And Lewis, on the Saledock side.
For point of sale, got Dojo, Payment Sense, and we will soon have Shift4, brilliant company that are going to be doing a unified payment solution across the board. They're the integrated ones. If you have an existing provider that you're getting great rates from and you don't want to leave them, that's fine. You can still use Saledock with an external payment provider, and you're not going to get charged anything additional for using somebody that isn't directly integrated. So that's just type the amount into the reader and you're good to go and stay with the existing rates that you already have.
And the Shift4, the new Shift4 integration that's coming soon, that's brick and mortar. It's also e-com. So it's going to be really efficient to have one provider for both sales channels, all unified.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, we went 6 minutes over. So again, thanks everybody. It was a pleasure. Lewis, Jake, thanks so much for being here today and sharing your knowledge. Hope everybody enjoyed. And again, if you have questions or want to see a demo, just feel free to reach out. We're happy to schedule a one-on-one. Have a great day, all.
Thanks very much. See you soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much.